that's how the shapes have turned out, and some of them I did try and make into petal shapes, and some I just left in the shapes that were naturally blown out, especially where I had used the straw and they'd come out nice and round. Like there, I didn't need to change the outer shape, but now it's moved, and I think I do need to blow it a little bit. The paint is moving a lot still, and it's sticking still, so but of course petals are going to be all shapes and sizes blowing in the wind. You're not going to see distinct petals, so I shouldn't get too bothered about it. Oh, I love it when it comes out like that. That's perfect. Here there's not enough colour coming through. Just have to be. And I think the main branch is just barely visible. I put branches through the other petals as well, just to give me somewhere to start from, because some of them have disappeared altogether. So I'm going to leave it like that. That can be how it will be. If I need to touch it up when it's dry, then I will, either with some gold or white, whatever I think it needs. I'll just bring you in for a close-up while it's still wet. Hopefully it will not move much more. I've cleaned off the drips. So you can see the gold will give it a nice shimmer. I wasn't really too interested in shimmering, just giving the, a little bit of a glint in the pink, so that it's shimmering in the sunlight, with a little touch of gold here and there. And essentially a soft cherry blossom bloom. And I think it's unique, I think it's different. And it just shows how the blue and red do combine, or magenta, they do combine very nicely. They don't bring, here you can see they've combined, and they don't bring a muddy colour. I think it's a very pretty colour result. Although I do prefer it when there's more of the pink, like here, and less of the blue. Just for this particular effect that I want to create for the cherry blossoms. But other than that, I do like this mixture here and there. And I do like it when it mixes with when the magenta mixes with the gold. I seem to have messed up. There was a lot more magenta there before. Maybe I need to blow that. See, that's just lovely there. That's perfect. Anyway, like I said, I'll have to leave it to dry and be patient. And then I'll decide whether to touch it up or leave it just as it is. So, well, having stood back and looked at the composition, I realised that this corner was a bit bare for some reason. So I added a bit more colour there, just the 3 colours, and I'm going to blow those out now. And some magenta there. I think this corner is now the prettiest, just the pink and blue, pink and gold and white. Well, I started with the white, then the pink. There was a bit more gold, but I like where the gold and pink mixed there as well. And then here where there was just too much light blue, which had formed part of the bloom, but the colours underneath are just were not coming out. So I added white and pink on top of that, and that looks much better now. So I'll wait a little bit, a few more minutes before I try and put back the shapes there. They're all gone now. This is how the cherry blossom dried, and I think it's perfect. I think it's lovely. I could leave it just as it is, but I want to sort of emphasize the blossoms by adding centers to where I did the shapes of the blossom. And so I'm going to do that with some of the magenta. And I just wanted to point out that the reason the magenta came through like that as an outline, and the blue as well, is because the magenta and the ultramarine blue are translucent colors. The white is opaque, that's why it's kind of solid. And the gold is also, I think, pretty much opaque. It doesn't say on the container, but I'm sure it is anyway. But it still came out very nicely, and with repeated blowing, which probably, you know, I could have left it just after the first blow, because the blooms were small then, and that was how I wanted them. But the colors weren't coming out the way I wanted them, so I kept on blowing. And also then one blossom got really big, so then I had to make the others to match it. And then I added in the second layer. But I could have achieved the same effect with just leaving the first layer as they were and leaving it to develop, and I'm sure it would have been just as pretty. But I do like this sort of ethereal effect where the magenta forms the outline and the blue, the sky blue light comes through, and also in the ultramarine blue. And then here there's quite a bit of the blue, sky blue light showing through, and here so much that the ultramarine blue almost vanishes. So it is interesting how it develops. But you have to bear that in mind when you choose your colors, and when you're thinking about what, you know, how you want it to look in the end. So now I'm going to do, with just a little bit of the magenta on dry magenta on a paintbrush, wet paintbrush. I'm going to start by adding, like in this corner here, I can see that that was bloom. I decided that would be a blossom over the branch, and so I'm going to just lightly make those little striations that you get in the center. I should have wiped the brush off, it's a bit too wet. I think I'll have to just wipe that away. So I wiped it away. There's still a little bit of a stain there, but it's okay. I'll just put it back like that. And it may be visible in some of the blossoms, and some it won't be. And some marks have kind of blurred, and I can't really see what I intended there. So it doesn't have to be on all of them. I don't want to paint away any of the blossom, any part of the blossoms as they are, even if they are kind of lopsided, because I think they're just perfect as they are. And I don't want to lose the colours that blew out. I think they're pretty. So I can see there's one here. And I mean, you don't see all of them anyway, you know, because some are folded over and blowing in the wind, etc. So there might be some here in the gold, down here. So I think I'll turn the canvas around and try and look at it in a different light. That's how it looks with the addition of the centers to the blooms, to the blossoms. And it hasn't made much of a difference. But I think now I'm going to add a branch running through. Well, a couple of branches there and there, down there, just to unify it all, because the branch that is there is barely visible with all this color. And I'm going to have to do it on my lap flat, because I'm using the liquid gold that I poured out, and I don't want it running down. It's not very solid, it hasn't set very much. So I think I'll have to do that off camera and bring you back when I've done it, because it's also in the shadow. That's how it looks now with the addition of the gold branch through all over and the little branches, and I think it helps to show that it's a branch of a tree and not just an indecipherable vague bloom. And I've also decided now that it was an intentional pour, and now it's going to be an intentional painting, and that I am going to shape the pour into more distinct blossoms with an outline of white. And I'll see, I might not do it everywhere, I'll just do it where I think it's going to make a difference, and just bring them to be slightly more in focus. So again, I'm using the liquid white, so again I'm going to have to do this sitting down, and so it's going to change the composition, but I'm okay with that. For example, here it's very pretty how these colours have all combined. And there's one blossom there, there's another one behind it. So I think if I can just outline that with a bit of white, it'll bring it more into focus. And I mean, different artists might see it differently. It definitely was a pretty blowout, and it could have just been a, you know, a bloom blowout, like a vine type of thing, like many artists do, but I didn't want that. So this was the fifth one down here. Oh, no, this is going to be part of this blossom here. And so I might have to drag the white in a little bit and lose a bit of the colour. Where I can, I'll do it on the outside like that. Instead of just making that line type of thing. On the inside here, so you've got the lines, the marks that I made with the back of the brush, but painting them, I think, just will enhance the shapes. And so I might lose a bit of that background. I think it's going to look nice in the end. So this one had 5 blossoms here, and so some of them I can see the actual blossoms that I indicated, but some of them I can't. Either the paint moved or I just didn't see what I was doing. So I think that's going to make a difference. You can see that I have put the white outline on some of the blossoms, not everywhere, and I didn't really like how the white was looking, so I added a little bit of magenta to it. It had a soft pinkish colour, and now I think it looks just perfect. I outlined the blooms and added a few more centres